If you like that new intro, which I'll now be putting at the beginning of all of my videos, please check out Starless. They're a fantastic band that's letting me use their music. All their links are in the description down below and will continue to be in my description forever because I'm a big fan and they seem like really good guys. And for the Wheel of Time fans on my channel, they even have a song inspired by the Wheel of Time. I bet you can figure out which one. All that being said, let's jump into the video. So we have two fantasy series here that are being compared that are extreme opposites. Now, I've done kind of videos that are reflections of each other in interesting ways before, like Wheel of Time and Game of Thrones. One's a die-hard fantasy series, the other's kind of an anti-fantasy series. The way Mistborn and Gentlemen Bastards differ is just kind of like entirely. They're very different to their core, especially from the initial concept, and that takes me to the plot. So the plot for Mistborn Era 1 kind of ends up more traditional fantasy, but it starts in a pretty interesting kind of original way for fantasy, following this underground thieving person who gets brought into a rebellion. Pretty cool and pretty original for fantasy. Era 2 plot, much less original. It's just kind of a reskinned typical Western with a fantasy coating on top. I love Era 1, I like Era 2, but Gentlemen Bastards' level of originality here kind of blows Mistborn's originality out of the water. Following criminals from beginning to end and never having them be redeemed or anything, they just stay thieving criminals, is very different and something I really enjoyed. Now the overall concept though for Mistborn, especially Era 1 on that grander scale, is there, but taking Era 2's kind of much less scale into account, I have to knock off Mistborn a little bit here. And what really pushes Gentlemen Bastards over the edge for me here and takes the win in terms of plot is just the lack of predictability for that plot. You can never really see it coming because it is such a new idea and stays that way throughout. I highly doubt anyone who started Gentlemen Bastards at the end of book 1 had any idea where book 3 was going to lead them. So for the first point, Gentlemen Bastards takes an early lead. Next up we have character, and once again Gentlemen Bastards is very original, coming in strong. Basically we love to hate our main characters here, and their bromance with each other is kind of what really propels character throughout the story. It's a Turk JD Joey Chandler level relationship that makes you love their dynamic and helps develop them as a whole so well. Locke especially is wonderful. I think everyone kind of falls in love with him, and his relationship with his best friend really endears you to these characters and makes up for the fact that they are criminals and makes you just kind of want to be with them even though they are the bad guys in such an effective way. I give Scott Lynch huge credit for executing this idea so well. Mistborn has some of the best characters written in fantasy recently, and that is not an understatement. Vin and Kelsier especially kind of stand head and toes around everything around them, but that's where Mistborn takes a hit. And yes, there were a couple other really good ones in Era 1. Era 2 had one great character, one that's only good, and everyone else kind of felt middling to okay. And the fact that the actual main character of Era 2 was, in my opinion, the shallowest main character I've read in a fantasy book in years, that's going to actually drag Mistborn down to the point where I'm giving character by a slim edge to Gentlemen Bastards. Now we're entering where Mistborn stands strongest, and that's going to be the magic system. You know I have a strong bias towards hard magic systems, and while Mistborn's may not be the hardest, it is certainly harder than what we get in Gentlemen Bastards' kind of vague descriptions of what these ominous bad wizards do. While I do like the concept of these evil wizards a whole lot, and I'm very interested in them, the overall system and its execution for Mistborn is something that continues to grow in a way that boggles me every time a new development happens. Seeing technology grow with the system and characters get better and grow with it and explore and learn new aspects of the magic is one of the best parts of Mistborn, and there's so many great aspects of Mistborn that it's really surprising to be able to say that. I'm usually not most fascinated by a magic system, but Mistborn is like that, and that's not because the other aspects of the series are less, it's just because the magic system is that good. I was very wrong in my original review of Mistborn when I said it's a basic system. I just didn't really get the full scope of it yet, and that's one of the few things I credit Era 2 for doing. It really does grow that system very well. Because soft magic systems, and Mistborn Era 1 doing such a great job establishing, and Era 2 growing that establishment so well, Mistborn easily takes the win and walks away with a point. And now we have world building, and I don't think I need to get too deep into why Mistborn's gonna walk away with the point here. Well, Gentleman Bastards does a great job of establishing the tone of its world and the criminal empires that run it. There's not really a whole lot to it outside of one city that we kind of interact with and a few pirates. Mistborn, on the other hand, has a vast, sprawling empire that is built so well, a ruling system, rebels, slaves, caste system, all kinds of things that really hook the reader and really let you get immersed in how this whole entire world is functioning. I think Mistborn is in the middle of building one of the best worlds of the Cosmere, and that's high praise. There are so many good worlds built in the Cosmere, but Mistborn stands above most, maybe second only to Stormlight Archive. So yes, obviously, Mistborn walks away with the point when it comes to world. Now we have something that might be a controversial opinion here, and that's readability. I'm not going to mark down Mistborn for having more books, because I'm not dumb, and I'm certainly not going to mark down Gentleman Bastards for not having as many books. It tells the story it needs to tell, and both of these series may have books coming out in the future. Mistborn is incredibly readable, the magic system is explained very well, it's simple yet intricate in a way where you can understand every step as it develops. The world is the same way, and the characters are engaging, and you're very willing to follow them in Era 1. Era 2 gives you some real trouble. I had some harder times getting invested in it. I did kind of want to put it down at one point or another, and I wanted to kind of skip ahead. I never did, but having that desire there really hampers it. Gentleman Bastards falls right in the middle here. I found it to be very compelling, and I was invested in the world, but it wasn't nearly as ambitious or well executed as Mistborn Era 1. So with it being right in between where Era 1 and Era 2 fall for me, I kind of have to call it a draw, which I know kind of sucks for me to do, but it does guarantee with my 6 categories that one series will walk away on top. But yeah, I'm officially declaring readability a draw. I just think both of them are equally fun to get into, and there's no real advantage with one over the other. I actually would recommend them exactly equally to people. Now finally we have the setting, and this is going to be another easy win here, but let's get into why. Gentleman Bastards setting is phenomenal. I love the tone and the feeling of kind of following these characters through a criminal world. The setting feels dirtier than pretty much any other fantasy book out there. Everyone you meet has the capability to stab each other in the back. There's no brotherhood or loyalty here at all, which enhances almost every other aspect of the book. The relationship between Locke and Jean feels even more pure and something to hold on to in this world because it's so awful. The villains, because of this setting, feel much more intimidating than your average fantasy villain, and it feels like they really could kill the main characters. We know the norm of this world is just murder. The villains don't just monologue and twirl their mustaches. These people hire assassins and get the job done. Everything raises the stakes in Gentleman Bastards because of the setting. But then you have Cosmere, and because Mistborn is set in Cosmere, you have to take it all into account. I wish I could just discount it and weigh just Mistborn versus Gentleman Bastards. That'd be a bit more of an even fight. But the setting being the Cosmere and us not knowing the future of Mistborn or Stormlight or all these books and how just intertwined they will become, you have to let it kind of have that window in. That being said, Mistborn Era 1 setting might be interesting enough to pull away the victory from Gentleman Bastards alone in itself. It is an awesome setting. Every book enhances it and makes it feel better. And the fact that it does kind of start in a criminal element like Gentleman Bastards does and grows into something more traditional, it gives you a more dynamic setting for the whole story. We know both sides of the society and culture that exist, and that is awesome. Era 2 pulls this down drastically with not being nearly as interesting in setting, but the Cosmere adds enough, in my opinion, to kind of make up for that. And because Era 1 and the Cosmere are in account, I'm not going to drag the whole thing down with Era 2. I know it sounds like I'm hating on Era 2 a lot. I don't hate it at all. I think it's good, but when you're comparing good to great, good's going to drag down the great. But all that being said, Mistborn is going to walk away with the final point of setting and take the victory overall. I hope you guys liked this video. It was a lot of fun to do. I was originally going to do Mistborn and Harry Potter, but the Harry Potter videos I make are usually not viewed that much, and after making some notes comparing Mistborn to Harry Potter, they're so strange to compare. I didn't really want to do it. It was just felt like a bunch of BS coming out of my mouth. These two, on the other hand, were so extreme in their contrast. It really became more fun to delve into their differences and explore who executes what better. It took a lot more thought. I want to take the time to thank again Starless. They are absolutely worth worth checking out. The band is super cool. They've been super nice to let me use their music. All their links are there down below. I'd love for us to be able to push up their view count because they certainly are an up-and-coming band and they need all the support they can get. If you like the idea of musicians making songs inspired by Wheel of Time, similar to how Led Zeppelin was inspired by Lord of the Rings, go check them out because they're certainly doing it different. And you know me, I love originality. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you would like to support the channel, my Patreon is linked down below. Man, it's becoming very repetitive to say that every single day. I hope you all had a wonderful week and that you will be getting more videos from me this weekend. I'm definitely going to have one out tomorrow and I'm hoping Sunday as well. The only weekend I'll be taking off the future is the last weekend of April, but that's because I'll be visiting family. They're not coming to me this time. I'm actually going to them. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.